All right, so this is my Conspiracy Broadcasting Network, blog 101. A lot has been going on since I believe my March 31st blog. I am going to go back to April 4th. Today is a Sunday, so I'm going to try to do some Sunday vlogs. And I just got continued terrorism that is just festering. It just seems like there's just nothing I can do about it. And I have a lot to say regarding a misdemeanors that I was charged with. And it's very interesting because well, we'll get into that later. But I want to make sure that I blog about the Conspiracy Broadcasting Network um, starting with April 4th and kind of catch up. And the thing about the network is that I'm broadcasting what I believe to be some type of COINTELPRO program where I've been into this program for decades now. There's been at times in my life when I realized that um, things were not appropriate, I guess, with family. And then I also realized that the abstinence or the frequency of some interactions with the general public and the situations that I was placed in just happened to be too ironic and too um, mistaken, if you will. And so this whole network is basically broadcasting my experience with a really big campaign, which is using a weapon of technology, which is allowing them to cyber stalk you. So, in some way, shape, form, or capacity, they're using a technology that has accuracy and precision. And the accuracy and precision is allowing these people to ambush you in social settings, and you are essentially on candid camera at all times. There was a TV show back in the 70s and I think 80s that they eventually canceled. And long story short, you're put into social settings of it could be whatever they feel like orchestrating. It could be social settings of comedy or social settings of humility, social settings of anger or irritability, or social settings to target where you're at on the spectrum of morale and ethics. And so these people are using intelligence driven design and intelligence driven um, psychosocial manipulation in order to facilitate um, essentially problems and circumstances and to alter those circumstances in your life. And so, keeping up with the channel back in February of 19, I was arrested and charged with disorderly conduct and resisting arrest. At the time, I had white SUVs following me to and from a location, a plaza, and then days preceding, I had these vehicles coming up to my personal residence, which I found on camera and put on my channel. That's in the 90 series vlogs, that whole thing. Also, my channel is going to be live, so most of my videos are live. Most of my stuff that I have now is all live type videos. There's just so much going on that I don't have the time to edit, to make a video and then edit it and then upload it. I'd rather just go live and raw. That way I have a convenience factor here because it already detracts from my life. It's basically a parasite. The whole campaign is because it also has elements of vandalism, and it has obviously elements of conspiracy and the color of law. It has elements of violations of my constitutional rights, such as the 14th Amendment, not allowing me to pursue justice and depriving me of due process. Um, it has violations of state law. And so it's basically anarchy and it's terrorism. Um, so a this whole campaign essentially has taken half of my life away from me, right? I went to physician assistant school where I was ambushed, was in $35,000 worth of debt of my own money that I had to work out of, basically. And I've been kept at an oppressive state year after year. And the bars associations in the past have abused me and led me astray. And so I can go on and on and on for a couple of days, but let's get into April 4th. April 4th, let's talk about how they're targeting my mail. So as a teenager and going in through my 20s, they've been targeting my mail and what's afforded to me on your Amazon. So they know what it is that I'm purchasing. And in this case, I was purchasing a rear-facing camera. And when I did all of my research, I was trying to find a rear forward-facing camera, or just a camera that had capabilities to adhere to the configuration of my car. And long story short, when you turn the actual camera on, it has like this red Corvette basically on the LCD screen. And everywhere I go when I transit, there's a bunch of red vehicles everywhere. So that was just semantics. I just didn't feel like always turning on a camera and having a red vehicle, turn on. And so I went to return that. And when I went to return that, not only was I stopped, to and from the area that I dropped it off, which is a CVS UPS quick drop off, but immediately when I returned home, I was pushed a bill from my health insurance that was in the same amount as the return of the camera. And so this is another way that they abuse you. They're taking the monetary amount of an item. You go to return it to get a refund, and then they send you a bill or something of that nature in the same amount to toy with the fact that, oh, you think you're going to be getting, X amount of money back for your return, but we're going to bill you for this. How's that? And the reason why I say that this is a form of abuse is because when I looked at the data service that insurance, the lab bill that they pushed the day of my return of the camera in the same amount, essentially, the data service of that lab was May 14th. Okay. And they waited until April of 2025, basically 11 months. Okay. And the way the insurance works is they had 12 months and they waited 10 to 11 months, almost a year later. And they'll keep tracks of all the items that I have in my house. And it's like your house is bugged, basically. Okay. It's like your house is essentially bugged. They know when you're leaving your house. They know when you're moving about the premises of the house, etc. Okay. I do a side hustle. Blog 100 talked about me leaving EMS. I'm still adamant about that. I found out that the National Registry doesn't allow me to, surrender or revoke myself the certificate in this case. And I'm in the process of doing the state portion because I just don't want to be responsible. I have that, that type A personality where if I have something, I want to keep up with something. So if I feel like I have the license, I still have to read. And I like to read and keep abreast of the material and the concepts and the discipline. If I just let it go, it just kind of helps me mentally, abstractly let go of the responsibility. I have, pretty broad shoulders, and I just don't want to be, with what's going on in the courtroom. I don't want to have that type of mental weight or anguish. But I'm doing nursing, and I'm going to let that go too. So I'm doing nursing, and what's going on is that they're making you go through cognitive dissonance. Okay. So what this means is that I'm going and I'm portraying altruism, right? I'm doing altruistic things. I'm doing things that cater to me as my spirit enjoys doing, because you have love languages and things of that nature. You're a person, you're a human, and everyone's built different. And so I like to exhibit my altruism in a way of acts of service, for example. So what they're doing is they're taking my aptitude for medicine, okay, and caring and giving, and then they're abusing you on the other side by perpetually terrorizing you. And in this case, not only am I leaving EMS, but I'm leaving nursing. These people at the caregiving job that I'm doing are always abusing me, some way, shape, or form or fashion. Either they're using proxemics in concert with other abusive scenarios that are occurring presently. And these are actually like these are actually considered clients, considered patients. Okay. And these people will always be in synchrony with what's going on in my personal life. And these people at the nursing, let's just say the nursing job, are always in sync with what's going on. And what does that mean? That means that when I go to work, okay, and I show up to wipe their ass, okay, or to help them walk, or to spend time with them, okay, and fix their meals, when I show up, these people will have a conversation with me, and they will gaslight me pertaining to situations that are occurring in my life. Okay. So at the time on April 4th, what also happened was the client that I'm working with started mentioning names. Okay. These names were names of women that he knows. Okay. And so what they'll do is they'll start telling you a story about a particular person's name. That person's name correlates with another person that is in your life or was in your life. For example, let's just make it clear. I was dating a girl named Desiree 3-4 years ago. And all of a sudden, my client wants to have a conversation with me about how his hairdresser name is Desiree. Okay. And he'll get to talking. And then all of a sudden, he talks about, his grandson. Okay. His grandson. And then all of a sudden, he'll throw something in there like, yeah, because Jeremiah was fucking her, And so he'll start talking like this. And then what he'll do is he'll return back to the conversation, to what he was saying. And so what they do is they slip this into the conversation real quick. And then they just continue like it's nothing, like no big deal. And this is the gaslighting that I'm talking about. And then what he'll do is they'll start using derogatory terms, right? Like calling you little boy and stuff like that. And so you'll get this type of conversations and dialogue. And what they'll do is they'll cloak it as a mental illness. They'll cloak it as, oh, it's sundowning. Oh, they'll cloak it as, oh, it's just, dementia or Alzheimer's. But what's going on here is it's at every single resident. It's at every single patient. It's every single place you go. Okay. And then on April 4th, you have my neighbor who I've already written and spoken to about having his dog shit in my yard. So what happens is we'll go through a whole day of establishing and completing errands and activities. And when you complete something, what they'll do is they'll come through and abuse you almost as if you completed something. So now we're going to abuse you. Oh, you went and mowed your yard? Okay, now we're going to abuse you with some phone calls and then hang up on you. Oh, you did that? Okay, so you went to work, you went and you paid some bills and you returned some things. Okay, so we're going to make some false phone calls on you, some spam phone calls, and hang up. In this case, Gary always waits for me to be away or go to work, and then he'll let his dog out. And his dog is a giant dog of 7, probably like 80, 90 plus. I mean, basically a baby hippo. Okay. And he lets his dog lay mountainous shits on my yard when I'm walking around. I've got to either move it or remind him. That's going to stop because I'm going to go to small claims and we're going to hash that out probably as public nuisance ordinance. Okay. Then I find that the Birmingham Waterworks comes to my property, and I have it on camera. This is all on April 4th, by the way. Comes to my property and decides that they're going to do a water level check, like a water meter check. When they do the water meter check, they come through at exactly 9:16. Okay, at exactly 9:16, I found out. Okay, so he decides to make his scheduled run through using semantics 9 and 16. Now you would say, well, 9 and 16 is not that big of a deal. But the problem is that these people are scheduling the abuse around the numbers 9 and around the number 16. Recall that I was arrested on February 19th. And recall that all that abuse with the white SUVs coming to my residence and all of that stuff happened and was amplified. It was amplified around the 19th. Okay. And that's when it was amplified 2 or 3 days before, knowing that they were going to get a reaction and that I was being pressed by my examinations. And when I looked at my schedule, they pushed my cardiac examination chapter really tight together. And that particular time frame in the months, that was the narrowest window, academic window, okay, to study for a large volume of information. So they staged that. Okay, so they staged that. And this is what I'm talking about. When it comes to being on Amazon and I'm looking for my terabytes, these are my terabyte, all my terabyte hard drives, externals. What they do is they'll keep you oppressed. Okay, they keep you oppressed, knowing that you are going to purchase something that is in your financial realm. Okay, something that's in your financial realm. If you go onto Amazon and you're looking for an affordable terabytes and you're seeing who makes these, they all have these either Chinese or foreign names, brand names. If you look up the meaning of the names, every name on the hard drive has semantics about what you're going through in life, or has semantics that's targeting you and the situations that you're in. Okay. So the names of these hard drives. And then when I get the hard drive, this is the most recent one, I didn't realize that it had lights on it and it was red and blue. Just like the Homewood Police. Black hard drive, red and blue lights like police lights. Okay. And so they drive black SUVs. Okay. So everything is a semantic. Everything that you touch, when you order things, in the past, I realized that they were even using fortune cookies, telling me to go into healthcare. And the whole time they were ambushing me. And the whole time, you're running and gunning as an EMT, working hard, doing overnight. I remember when I was an EMT, I would go to school Monday through Friday. That Friday, I would be headed back into the ambulance service. And I wouldn't get out of the ambulance service until Monday morning at 7 in the morning. And classes at 8. And I was going through the abuse then with relationships and people. And this is a program I've been on, okay? And they've ran me into just nothing but hell. And so I've been living this life for 18 years, okay? 18 years, and this is where I'm at, okay? And so they're targeting your mail. And Birmingham, going back to April 4th, these Birmingham waterworks comes through at 9:16 and leaves the lid off, like leaves the lid disheveled. So the lid is right here on my sidewalk in the front of my house, and he just leaves it and then drives off for me to go and fix. This is the same company that has been not informing me about the water leak that I have coming from an adjacent property. And now it devoured my entire backyard. Basically, I don't have a backyard. I have 5 yards between a bunch of weeds and my foundation. Before I had 30 yards, 35 plus yards, right? Okay. That was just April 4th, what I had to deal with. I'm looking at my journal here, and I want to go into the arraignment. I'm going to skip April 9th. It just talks about the white SUV deal and these vehicles following me. So what I have noticed is that there's been almost an evolution. Now, for some reason, they're using these black vehicles. I don't know why. And they're keeping this black SUV pattern going now, which was a vehicle one of these girls that I was dating back in Virginia. She drove that, and they're using her like because they know what I want, I guess, like with romance, I guess. So they're again, it's always about taking like your wants or taking your interests and then abusing you with them, right? Or sticking you with some type of gaslighting and then taking that and abusing you with it. So it's like they're just taking things and they're terrorizing you with the things you want, the things you don't like. It's just whatever they can find on you, they're gonna take that and they're shoving it in your face at all times. And you're treated lesser than a dog. I mean, you wouldn't do that to your own dog, right? If he's snarling at you, or a tiger, if he growled at you, you wouldn't continue to sit there and beat on the cage. I mean, I don't understand. So this is a type of campaign where you're literally treated less than an animal, okay? And they keep doing it. I was arrested on the 19th for white SUVs stalking me, and it still continues, and they're doing nothing about it. And I'm being cyber stalked nonstop. April 18th, this is I've got a bunch of notes here regarding what's going on with my nursing position. So on the 18th, I was at the nursing position, and I've had issues with Walmart, and I have it on record here regarding the abuse from Navy Federal Credit Union and them freezing my card, having a third party freeze the card when I'm trying to make purchases in the checkout. Excuse me. They're taking these my only card that I use one card, and it was a brand new card. What they're doing is they're always putting me in positions of humility. So I'm trying to make purchases at the store, and then what they'll do is they'll freeze the card and say that the card was declined, when there's nothing wrong with the card. There's nothing wrong with brand new card, no defects, no scratches, no dinks, nothing. It's brand spanking new. And what they'll do is they'll have a bunch of people in the line show up all of a sudden and act like they're the ones waiting on you. So you'll go in there and you'll just go to make a purchase, or at least think you're just doing something simplistic like making a purchase. And then what they'll do is when you push the card in there, they'll freeze the card and say the card is declined. And there's a third party just fucking with your card. And what happens is you'll go into that whole checkout unit with all the different kiosks, and there's barely any people there. Literally, like there was, I think I described on the video, there was like 4 or 5 kiosks that were open, right? No one was in the line, no one was there. But the second the card freezes, and all of a sudden you make a phone call and you're literally 30 seconds into the phone call, you turn around and you see that all the kiosks are taken up, and then all of a sudden there's a line of like 10 people within 2 minutes. And then they're acting like they're waiting on you. They're just acting like they're waiting on you, and they're just sitting there trying to press you and antagonize you. That's it, and try to humiliate you and irritate you. So I stopped going to the grocery store, period. I get my groceries delivered. And I think on one of my previous videos, I said that I wasn't even going into the grocery store anymore. I am going to pick the groceries up. Excuse me. I was going to pick the groceries up. That doesn't even happen anymore. I don't even do that. I don't even drive to the grocery store anymore. I get my groceries delivered because I'm being abused when I'm driving there. They've got convoys of red vehicles waiting for me in the parking lot. If it's not harassment and this is normal, then somebody show me where there's vehicles around them in disproportionate numbers, disproportionate colors, I should say. It's a statistically irrational number of red vehicles or convoys of the same color. If that's going on with you, if that's normal, I don't see that in pictures anywhere on the internet. I don't see anyone else posting about it. So it's just visual pollution and noise pollution and visual pollution because, who just wants to deal with it? I'm not going to deal with it anymore. And then they want to keep you in cognitive dissonance where you're over here doing altruism. You're over here doing things for the community. And then at the same time, you have the same community abusing you. And you're stuck in this cognitive dissonance. This is another reason why I'm leaving. And the fact that the police don't want to do anything and they haven't done anything for years. I've been dealing with this for 11 plus years. I went back in my notes and my documentation records, and I have pictures dating back to 2015, okay, where these convoys of vehicles are following me. And it's usually, for some reason, one of the popular patterns is red SUVs, red trucks. Red trucks is a big one. So I don't know. Like, that's just April 18th. And so I'm working at my caregiving / nursing, and one of the clients brings their card out and says it doesn't work, and then says that one of her insurance cards is giving her some type of reimbursement or gift or something like that. And then when I get home, I'm getting perpetual texts about my insurance card giving redeemable points, like her insurance was giving redeemable points. And so what they're doing is they're playing semantics with your personal insurance and her personal insurance, your personal issues with the cards, and then her personal issues with the cards. And it's just this revolving door of your problems are then mocked and spoken about as our problems, or vice versa. I can gaslight you with, here's my problems. I already know that that's going to be your problem. That's why I'm talking to you about it now. This is what I've spoken to back in the 80s series and 70s series regarding Michael Retz in SIU. Before I went to physician assistant school, somehow we had become acquaintances, and he goes to me one day about how he was in physician assistant school for 1.5 years, and how he didn't like it, and the instructors were like, he didn't like them and they didn't like him and all this other stuff. And I said, why? And he never had an answer why. And it was just nonstop, the same conversations that I've had with other people who are basically telling you a story so that they can implement that reality for you in the near future. And so it becomes a gaslighting conversation. It becomes a prophylactic conversation. Prophylactic is what was used, right, by KGB. Prophylactic conversation was that conspiratorial conversation that the mafia likes to use. If they're not getting their way, they may ask you, "Hey, how do you like your kids going to that school?" That's the type of thing. It's the same thing with the way they talk to you about anything in life. They'll come up to you and have a conversation about it, knowing that that's what happened to you, knowing that that's what you're probably irritated about, or you were irritated about. It's the same thing, and they're using this in my current nursing job right now. Let's see. I was one of my nursing clients was telling me that every time I go forward, I go 2 steps back, gaslighting me, and then carrying on with the next conversation. I noticed that the gray vehicles, gray SUVs, they've been a big thing since my arrest. They switched it over for some reason now. When I go to the gym, there's been a bunch of gray SUVs, silver SUVs for some reason. I have video and pictures of this stuff that I'm talking about, but I'm laying that low because I have some third party in my electronics. That's been going on for years, removing all of my pictures and evidence, removing it all for some reason. I have a huge convoy of red vehicles staging. I have it on my Facebook. I did post some pictures there on my Facebook. All around me in the parking lot. I ended up going there at a night session from like 9 to 10 on April 18th. And I had literally like 5 or 6 or so or more red vehicles like in a circle around the parking lot. And then 2 or 3 gray, like just weird patterns, like visual pollution, basically, right? And what type of toll auditory pollution does to you. So, I mean, imagine auditory and visual pollution at the same time, right? Let's see here. I think I'm going to close out this video and we're going to go to April 20th, moving into the arraignment and what went on in the courtroom and what the police officers were doing to harass me in the courtroom. And then we're going to finish it out. I don't want to make this too long.